So on my end, how do
Yes, sir. How you expect to be great, but your hustle don't match. Listen. I hustle over time, attempt to push the culture forward. This that real shit, make a meal with that little gift. Everybody on a hustle, we can make a real shift. So keep your head up, youngin', and just keep on moving. And if you ain't hustling, then I don't know what you doing. The time is now. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Yeah. I gotta write my story. No, you can't have my glory. I'm taking all that's for me. Unapologetic hustle.
all right, all right. Well, I think first thing, welcome everyone to the Unapologetic Hustle. I think first thing first, I am not Marcus Stone. Uh, so, give you a little update on what's going on today. I am Dr. Jaron Jones, co-founder of Self Narrate, the nonprofit, founder of iLiveMighty.com, and co-host for the Quarantine Snacks podcast, and good friend to Marcus Stone. And we have gotten to know each other over the past year, and it's been a great experience. And been building together, seeing this brother, continue to build out the unapologetic hustle, and just seeing it just grow quickly. And so one of the things that I do as a coach, my PhD is in leadership development, personal development. I do executive coaching and things like that. I do also a lot of and talking to Marcus, he's like, "Hey man, I want you to be a guest and come on the show." And I was like, "All right, but only on the one condition. I get to interview you. I get to ask you a ton of questions, and a lot of them you're not gonna know what I'm gonna ask because we're gonna make it a bit organic and fluid." So that's what we're doing today. I am only here to interview the Marcus Stone, CEO of the Unapologetic Hustle. So I'm gonna throw it to you, Marcus, and welcome all your guests, bro.
Hey. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the hustle. Again, I am normally your host, but I am the special guest today. But we'll definitely get into it. You'll get a insight into what makes me me, and how the unapologetic hustle came to be. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your continued support. Dr. Jones, thank you for being the friend that you are, coming in to make this happen. So let's get it.
All right. So I guess I'll give you a little bit more background about who I am, where I come from, and that kind of will probably help you understand my approach to when I do interviews and facilitation and collaborate with my folks, man. So I did my undergrad from North Carolina A&T State University, my undergrad and my master's there in Greensboro, North Carolina, and then realized that I wanted to work and continue to work with people. I had a passion for leadership, have been doing that my whole life, coming from a strong background, from a strong family that always pushed you to believe in your abilities and to go do it, and to push through and to be resilient. So I knew I wanted to do a PhD in leadership, but I was a little nervous. I didn't know the GRE. I didn't know how to pay for it. All those limiting beliefs and things that you start to give yourself. So I worked a little bit longer than I probably should have before I started my PhD, but went and did it, and focused on using narrative and storytelling to help us understand how we can enhance personal hardiness, motivation, and resilience. That's from owning our stories, understanding how we can we've overcome past challenges, and how we can overcome future ones too. So when I met Marcus, once we started working for a company together, I realized we shared a lot of similar approaches to just the resilience, the push, man. We shared that hustle. And so to hear him want to build out a podcast, the Unapologetic Hustle, and other things that it will grow into, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So I hope you're ready, Marcus. But it just made perfect sense, man. So I'm excited to be able to be here to interview you, so people can get to know you, bro. Because I think the one thing that you do is you're very humble and resilient in how you work. So sometimes you need a little help. You need somebody else to step in and be like, bro, it's okay to talk about yourself. People need to know. People want to know. I was listening to your first podcast, and being the person that you are, you're always giving everyone flowers. You're making sure that everyone knows who's on board. You're building them up. but you got to make sure we're pouring into your cup too, brother, so you can keep pushing. So I am excited to be your host today, bro. I am here just as, as excited as you are, maybe more excited because I can't believe it, man. We're on the Fishbowl Network. Looking at all your platforms, man, and I'm excited, bro. So I thank you for the opportunity, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I welcome it. I welcome it for sure.
Good stuff. So I'm gonna hop into it. Okay, so people know or are getting familiar with the Unapologetic Hustle. They see the photo of you. They see you with the beautiful backdrop behind you. They see you with the black and gold microphone. I see you, Fred. But we want to know more about you because I've gotten to know that there are several layers to who you are. So before I even dig deep, I'm gonna just let you throw some of the stuff and see where you take it. So for your listeners, who is Marcus Stone?
Man, I think that's the toughest question of all, right? Marcus Stone is so many things, but ultimately, how I view myself, Marcus Stone is a dreamer, right? Marcus Stone is an individual that thrives on helping other individuals achieve their dreams, right? And the aspect and understanding the aspect of what it takes to achieve it, right? Understanding that we've come through and have been through so much stuff already that affects us negatively, but looking at the positive in every situation in order to go forward. But who I am, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a son. I'm a friend. I'm just a all around guy that loves to embrace positivity and uplift the community. That's and I like to hustle doing it. I like to be unapologetic in how I help and just go forward.
Okay, I love that, bro. So I love that you're helping people to understand. Your experiences that drove you to start the Unapologetic Hustle. But when I first met you, you were telling me about some other business ventures that you had done as an entrepreneur. I think it's very important for people to know, the vast array of things that you've done, especially as an entrepreneur, and especially in times like this. It's important for us to see Black and brown entrepreneurs, bro. So I think it's dope. Tell me a little bit more about that. You have a very diverse background, entrepreneurship. Tell me about
it. Yeah, man. So of course, this platform, the Unapologetic Hustle, which the main focus of this is to provide a platform for entrepreneurs and thinkers and motivators to get their content out, to shine additional light, to be a pivotal piece of the community to uplift, right? But other things that I'm known for many things. Chef Anthony is another one. My alias of Chef Anthony, being a personal chef, caterer. I have a line of sauces that are coming soon. So stay tuned for that. As well as Mache's Legacy. Mache's Legacy is my hair care line that my wife and I have started, and it's men and women products. So that is another business venture that I have. Those are the three main right now. We have some other things that are coming down the road, but diversifying, everything that I have been great at, and finding a way to make to try and monetize it.
Okay. Now, if we want to somehow get in touch, because right now everybody's doing self-care, we're quarantined, so anything that we can get mailed, to clean up this beard and our hair. How do we reach you for that, man? Tell us about it.
Yeah, of course. So Mache's Legacy, you can reach us at www.Mache's Legacy. Legacy is spelled Legaci. So macheslegacy.com. Chef Anthony, everything can funnel through Mache's Legacy. It all comes directly to me. Or you can reach out through the Unapologetic Hustle. It's a full circle. So either platform, you'll get in touch with me. And again, if you aren't on one of the others, make sure you follow and share. But yeah, just reach out. We'll be in touch.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Now I'm gonna get more into about the entrepreneurship bug that was planted that you've been hustling with and continue to do. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But again, I'm trying to stick. I'm peeling back the layers. Who is Marcus Stone? All right. Now, we do some pre-work, and I try and put together some show notes to try and learn more about the person I'm interviewing, pull more to understand their story. That's just who I am, right? So in conversing with you, you brought up some things that allow you to have the unapologetic hustle, where maybe many might not have been in those same conditions. I think that's very important because it also talks about how you've learned to execute through challenges. So did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So for many that don't know, my background was the military. I spent 17 years in the military, and one of the greatest things that I've learned from my time of serving is it's always challenging mentally, right? We are trained and conditioned to handle several things, whether it be your soldiers or your peers or just situations at a given time, and to be able to operate and function in a chaotic situation. So I like to say that I'm at my calmest when everything is at chaos, right? I am able to execute amongst the chaos because of that conditioning, right? So in a sense, it allows me to utilize multiple pieces of my brain and my experiences to act, to operate, and to go forward. That's the true hustle. Utilizing all those situations in order to drive deeper and push past what the current circumstances is, knowing that you have a beginning and you have an end, and everything in the middle you can't really control, but you know that you want to reach that destination. So being able to operate on that aspect is what I do. So executing amongst the chaos.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful right now because right now we're all experiencing new conditions that are unfamiliar. So we're working from home, we're self quarantined. Some of us we might be looking for work, and so we're trying to figure out how to navigate this unfamiliar territory, right? And so for you, when I talked to you, you talked about, hey, it's time to push it. It's time to hit that pedal to the floor and go, right? And I was like, I value that. I value that perspective and that understanding because it's fresh. Because many of us can feel like, I don't know if this is the right time. I don't know. You can guess yourself. Right? So for your listeners, for people who tune into your podcast, people who are showing up and are looking for something, do you have any tips or anything that have helped you during this pandemic that gave you that ability to say, I need to turn it up. I need to keep pushing. What were some of those things? What was your mindset?
Yeah, for me, it really just stemmed from history, right? Some of the greatest things came from when you weren't prepared, when you weren't ready, when you were faced with the pandemic, right? Hindsight being right now, we're faced with COVID-19. So nobody was prepared for it, but in a sense, everybody's adjusted to what that circumstances has brought forward, and it's opened your eyes to new ways of getting things done. So my advice would be, don't wait until you think you're ready. You have to push now, right? Yesterday has already surpassed. Tomorrow is not promised, and all you have is today, right now, in this moment, these 24 hours to start whatever your dream, whatever your hustle, whatever you're compelled to do right now. So you have to put action in now. You have to create and adopt a mindset to live for now, to gain the future that you have or that you see for yourself. So don't wait until the moment has passed because that perfect time is not guaranteed. We're only here for a certain amount of time. So, you have to start right now to leave your legacy, to chase those dreams. So, that's my motto. That's my mindset. You have to live for now. You have to push now in order to get to where you're trying to go.
Okay, I love it. Now I've seen. I know you talked about legacy. You talked about acting in now and shaping that mindset. I think that's very powerful. And I've seen you take the idea and do the steps, baby steps, very quickly, actually, But like, talk to me about that. So I guess uh, getting to the baby steps, let's start with, what was the origin story? Like, what made you decide I had to create the Unapologetic Hustle? You already have your other businesses, so you might have been feeling some of that entrepreneurship itch, but you knew that there was a gap because you had that. Can you walk us through what was that process saying, I have to create the Unapologetic Hustle?
I mean, the unapologetic hustle for me was really, I've always looked for ways to leave a legacy, right? Whether that be for my family, whether that be in a community, whether that be with generations to come, just to leave a nugget of what has taken place, and that you can do it too, basically. So we as we go through these ventures, we hear so much about networking is key, or individuals just were in the right place at the right time, or individuals that came from the hardest of places and rose out of it, right? Like the rose that grew from the crack of the concrete. That everybody has a story, basically, right? But the difference is that people don't see. They try to live other stories versus their own, right? So understanding that you can learn from the stories, even though that yours may not have started as they did. Again, you have a beginning point, you have an end point, but you narrate how that course goes. You narrate that journey. So understanding that you have to, again, the mindset, you have to believe enough in yourself, believe enough in your goals and your dreams in order to enact that mindset. So you will be the first person to doubt yourself as to whether you can accomplish it or not. And if you can condition yourself to believe in that positivity, to know that you can achieve it, then everything else will fall by the wayside, because you're going to be faced with the challenges, the chaos that we talked about earlier. But you got to push, right? You have to push. You have to dig down within yourself in order to believe, what it is. So the origin was simply that, to leave nuggets, to leave what I've learned, right? Because I doubted myself, but again, I'm not speaking on anything that I haven't experienced in itself. I'm speaking from real life. This is what I went through. I had times when I was down and I was like, man, I can't do this. I'm not going to be at that level, but it may not be for me to be at that level, but I don't know what level I can obtain if I don't even pursue it.
It's true. I love that, bro. I love that. It's interesting too. There's a quote that I think by Nietzsche that says, "One who understands their why can overcome any how." And so, how you talked about that beginning, that end, that origin, knowing your why, owning that narrative allows you to overcome the hows. You're not exactly sure how to get there, but if you know why it's important, if you have an understanding of what you want, what your needs are, when those challenges happen, you pull back to that why to help you become the hows. And so I really like that, man. I really like that, and I think it's very important too for people to understand too that once you make that switch and own your story, it doesn't mean that you don't have challenges, right?
Right.
But let's talk about some of the rewards that happen on the other side. So you had the idea, you had the origin idea, the inciting idea that says, I need to do this, right? And now you started taking the steps forward. You started, even figuring out a name. You started, looking at the backdrops behind you, your logo design. Talk about, for our entrepreneurs who are thinking about building and growing something, what did that feel like, in this territory, to come from ideation to action? What did that feel like for you as an entrepreneur?
I mean, so for me, with every step that has had, or every goal, it pushes me to adapt and to create another one, right? Because I don't want to reach the mountaintop and then plateau and stop and fall off. It pushes me to figure out something else. So in my case, with starting an unapologetic hustle, it went from just hearing that I should be a motivational speaker, earlier on, and in a sense, I ran from it, right? I didn't see myself being on a big stage, on a big grand stage. But hindsight is 2020, right? Everybody has something good to leave to this world, whether you realize it or not. So you have to own really what your destiny is. So the unapologetic hustle is really encompassing everything that I do as a whole, right? Being the example of how I can, be great at multiple things and be successful at multiple things, diversifying myself and leaving a legacy for my family. But at the same time, it also serves as motivation for others that are going through similar, if not the same thing, right? So it is a roadmap from my vantage point, not everybody's vantage, but from my vantage point of how you can do something and still chart your own course, right? So yeah, like this came to fruition really, really fast. And I think more importantly, just because it was always there. I just needed an additional push, you know. So it was something that had been in the work well over a year now. But it wasn't until earlier this year when I was like, it's just time. It's time to go. So I created a logo. I got banners. Got opportunity to be on Fishbowl Radio Network to tell my story and in hopes that my story will help somebody else.
I love that, man. I think you tapped on so many little gems. I got my notepad with me because that's a part of I'm gonna keep going with it based off of what you give me, man. I'm really liking, you talked about the, not reaching the mountaintop, and that we have several different mountains. We're gonna get to that too, because I'm gonna ask you about some goals a little bit later on. But even before that, you talked about, others seeing something in you. And, part of the research that I did while I was in my doctoral program was on hardiness and resilience. And it talks about, having a team around you, that foundational group, where they see things in you that you might not see in yourself, but they encourage you to be those things. So that's part of the four branches of self-efficacy that says, if you got a team that believes in you, even when you don't believe in yourself, when you see a team that looks like you overcome challenges that you see coming in, seeing them do it, that are familiar to yours, having that. Also understanding, your psychological way of thinking. So, what are my cues? Am I nervous when I think about this idea? Am I nervous when I think about the challenges? And then lastly is about, subject mastery for yourself. So what you believe you have. So I hear that, internally you already knew you kind of were a subject matter expert and executing through payoff. You knew you needed to create something, to build something. You knew you were an entrepreneur, but you may not, like you said, you might not have wanted to own that you were a motivator. And exactly. So people helped you to see something, even if you didn't want to own it, but you were open enough to say, let me take those steps. And it's funny because I think that part of tapping into, I believe that everybody has genius level talent. Jay-Z has an interview where he talks about if everyone could tap into their genius level talent, that's what it's all about. And you mentioned it too. We all have something to give to the world, right? So it's interesting that as you own and start to own your narrative and your story and things that you wanted to do, you're now tapping into even more genius level talent that you probably didn't want to own, but you knew there might be something there, And so it's just an example of how, if you listen internally, listen externally to the things that are constructive in a good way, not things that tear you down but build you up. I think it helps to get you to that space. It's dope to see, man.
Yeah.
Because our conversations, off air, you're definitely a motivator. We've had conversations where you've had to pour into my cup, bro. And I was like, it's interesting that you say, you're not a motivational speaker or a coach because, I've been doing this. I am. And what you just did was you just did what I would do with somebody else. So
right.
I'm like, you did that, And then a couple of days ago, I gave you the same talk you gave me. So again, it's that team. You have the people that have that foundation that help you to continue to push. even when you might
Yeah.
not believe in yourself, having people to believe in you, it helps. You got an amazing partner and family that supports you. You got friends that understand and see the things in you. And so it's great to see that thrive and flourish. Do you have mentors or people outside of friends and family that you lean to? Because I think it's important for people to know, you don't have to have family support if you know that dream is bigger than what they may see for you. So how did you like get in contact with like Fishbowl Network and that group and the people that are around you? Talk about how you built that group of supporters.
I mean, so for me, it was it was real simple. It was just really being receptive, being able to receive what was in front of me, and I think that was the key. That was the key change for me, right? Again, I talked about my military past and how they conditioned me to operate within certain scenarios. But even though that you're conditioned to operate in certain scenarios, you're not always receptive of what the changes may be, right? So your performance doesn't actually, handle or is up to par to what your capacity could be. So when I learned that if I receive and understand that change is going to happen, and just going forward, understanding that the opportunity may be right now, but I may not be ready. But I have to adjust in order to make this opportunity work, right? So it all ties together for and how my entrepreneurship stuff came together, and learning that being receptive when individuals present something, not shutting it down automatically. Oftentimes that's what we do. Hey, you should do this. They may not have communicated it right, but you automatically, in a sense, you should makes you defensive. Like, no, who are you to tell me I should do X, Y, and Z? Yeah. So, but it's understanding. Once you condition your mind to understand that it just is a communication thing, and really grasping what an individual is trying to communicate to you, you can take that and move on, right? Whereas if I would approach you, it's like, hey, I've been watching you. Are you interested in doing something like this? I think you would be great at doing this particular thing because I've seen X, Y, and Z. It's really just how it's phrased, but you got to understand that everybody's not at the position that you are in life or educational background or communication, right? It's about understanding the aspect as a whole and how you receive it. So the receiving part is key and has been key in order for me to go down the path that I have gone down and the path that I look to pursue.
Right, right. I love that, man. I love that, man. It's that mindset. It's that unapologetic hustle mindset that you talk about, man. Now,
Exactly.
you are a grinder, man. You are a workhorse. You do what you got to do. I know of other responsibilities that you also have on top of doing the unapologetic hustle. You're a great father. You're a great husband. You're a great friend. How do you find balance? Because I've seen how much you've done in a short amount of time. So for you, how do you balance all those where you're still able to be present for everyone and also for yourself?
I mean, so balance is a key, but again, I can only speak to my vantage point, right? Everybody's house is not the same, but it ties into several different aspects, right? It ties into the support, it ties into drawing your family in, and then having people that you can lean on. One of the key things is that my circle believes in my vision more than I do at this point, right? Because they see what I do, they see the actions that I take, and they're over eagerly to support. Like my daughters, they hear my intro song and it's pandemic in the house. Like, yes, they're singing it and like, Daddy, you're on YouTube, and like they're bought in. My wife, I love her to death. She is my backbone when it comes to these businesses. She supports the vision. She may not always understand it, but she knows my heart and my intentions and why I'm pushing. So the support in that aspect. is tremendous, you know. So your circle may not always understand your vision for it, but if they understand your heart and why you're driving to it, they're more willing to support, right? And then that creates a ripple effect because their circles see and believe in them, and they see what they're doing. So it creates the network as a whole, where people start to reach out and like, hey, how can we help? How can we be a part of this? I love what you're doing. So, I mean, again, it's just the mindset of being receptive to wanting to deliver something and having that positivity in the aspect of leaving something that is not just for you, but for others, you know, being of service. I mean, and that's all I'm trying to do. I'm a servant by nature, you know. Again, military. I put my life on the line for individuals I didn't even know, right? That's service beyond, you know, to include my life if that's what it called for, right? But my ventures, my entrepreneurship, Machay's legacy is a service. It's a service for hair care. Unapologetic hustle is a service for other individuals that are living this dream and want to push forward. Chef Anthony is a service, hands-on service, right? But it's a way for me to give pieces of me in different aspects of my life to others, and for that greater good.
I love that, man. It's sitting here taking notes. Gotta go deeper in here. You know, it's really good because you mentioned, you know, you having a supportive family, and you quickly breeze through. And I just thought, I was like, I don't even know if he recognizes. He does recognize it. How important it is for him to be that entrepreneur, to have those ideas, to take action on those. And like you say, your daughter, like, you're on YouTube. Like, we're creating new narratives. Where we can be business owners, we can be, you know, speakers, we can be, you know, on social media, putting positivity out there and balance out all the other stuff that we see too. And about legacy, I can feel it from how you share your story and your acts of service. And thank you for your service, both military and externally as well, brother. That's so powerful, and speaks to people's understanding of what you're trying to give back to the world through the unapologetic hustle, man. But I'm just really earlier we were testing Skype. One of your daughters walked by and she was like, "Oh, I'm on the camera screen," and then she's kind of back. You know, but to be a child in their developmental years, to see a parent, you know, and parents, because, you know, it's a partnership. So to see,
yes, absolutely,
to see two people have an idea and support one another, like, that's a part of building that strong foundation where your children are going to grow up and just, we all want them to always grow up and be better than what we are, right? And so
exactly,
you're laying, I can only imagine the legacy you're going to leave for them and the legacy they will, as they catch that baton and keep going. That's what it's about. It's that generational legacy that you speak to.
Yes, absolutely.
It's awesome, man. Earlier, you talked about, you know, not having, not reaching the mountaintop, but mountaintops, plural, right? So, you know, that makes me think about, you know, short-term and long-term goals. So with the Unapologetic Hustle, what episode is this?
This is episode 4.
Okay, so short-term goals, you know, you're growing, you know, and this is awesome that, you know, I've seen it when it was the idea. You already have 4 out there, man. Like that's dope. And so what are some of your short-term goals? Like, say the next 6 months, and then where do you see Unapologetic Hustle in the next 5 years?
Man, you know, that one is puzzling for me, right? Because I often set lofty goals, and it plays into my drive, right? It forces me to push. To be honest with you, to be frank, in 5 years, I don't know where the Unapologetic Hustle will be, you know, because I see that happening a lot sooner. You know, that's just how motivated I am, you know, to make it what I see it to be. I see the Unapologetic Hustle being a household name. That's my vision for it. But I also don't see it being taking 5 years in order for that to happen, because I need and want to continue to have something to drive me to grow it, right? But it is a service, right? It is a platform for not just me, but everybody to come on and tell how they got through, to understand, to bring the community back together that, hey, it is, even though your path is different, we are similar, right? You may have started a lot higher or a lot lower than I did, but the fact of the matter is that you started. And that's the key thing about the unapologetic hustle, is that you have to start. You have to start in order to reach your destiny. There's a song out there that I listen to often, by Meek Mill, one of his older ones, Dreams and Nightmares. Will you continue to live in your nightmare by not acting, or will you start acting to live your dream? Which one do you want? You can't be on the fence for your whole life. And if you are, I mean, it's your choice. But I'm here to tell you and to help motivate you that you don't have to. You can change your circumstance. It's just about really what you're going to do to pursue it.
I think that's powerful, man. That was a perfect segue. I think you kind of gave one of the nuggets too. My next question was going to be, what advice, or nuggets of advice would you give someone that's trying to build their unapologetic hustle? Maybe they've identified, hey, I have things and dreams and ambitions that I've set on too long, and I want to take action. I know you said you have to start. What else would you put that budding person that's ready to let it all out, to own that narrative?
I mean, for me, that's easy, right? But again, I'm in a different place in my life. But again, at the same time, I was once there, right? I told you that I ran from certain things for a while. So I was once there, but ultimately what it takes is you have to identify things that you're good at, things that you like doing, something that may be a hobby for you right now, right? Whether you like to bake cookies, whether you like to mow lawn, whether you like to do gardening, whether you like to doodle, or maybe you're good with numbers. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you have some inclination, and when you're doing it, it doesn't feel like work. Then the challenge and the obstacle that you have to face at that point is, how do you monetize it, right? How do you make money from it? So again, if you're into baking cookies, there's farmers markets, there's online stores that you can do, there's the Homewood acts that you can enact to where you can sell those goods. Get you a little cheap website, or Instagram. There's several ways that you can enact and have that become monetized, right? But you just have to start. You never know where it's going to go or what you can achieve. You can have the best cookies in the world, but if you don't put it out there, who's going to know?
I feel you. I love that, bro. I'm glad. I think it's a perfect segue too, because after I know you wanted to. We're going to stop. We're at the halfway point. I don't know where the time goes, man. That's all. We already 30 minutes in, bro. Hey, a little bit over. We started before, 12. So the second half, I really want to talk about, just some of the things that you've learned as an entrepreneur, and kind of bringing that up, because I think there are a lot of life lessons in deciding to be an entrepreneur. Understanding how to take an idea and monetize it. And you had some experience with that. And so the people who follow you, I believe they look for that as well. They pull from that. So we'll get back more into the entrepreneur side. I just hand over to you, because I think we're at the halfway point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, we have, as you know, one of my special guests was Levi Jones. Right now he's currently doing his launch season project. So every Friday he's releasing new music with Saturday being a video, lyric video, and then Sunday being an explanation of what that song meant. So the song today is MDD. We're going to get into that real quick. Levi Jones, MDD. Thanks for watching Unapologetic Hustle. We'll be right back.
Jones, bring the heat, boy. Step up on the scene, looking extra clean. Oh yeah. Pull up in something you ain't never seen. Oh yeah. And it all started with $1 and a dream. Oh yeah. Then I woke up with a lot of cream. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Better get your chick, she keep buying me. Wonder why they hate, wonder why they try me. I just levitate, try to reach a high me. Ain't got time to play, had to regulate. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. Oh, yeah. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. Oh, yeah. Turning $1 million dreams into reality. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. Oh, yeah. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. Oh, yeah. Turning $1 million dreams into reality. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. I could never go broke, brother taught me how to hustle. Now I'm flexing for show. Got me using every muscle. Pay attention to those who really love you in the struggle. Because once you get on, all that fake love coming for you. Ducking through the bullshit. Niggas swerve. Nah, you can't stop the wave. Niggas serve. I'm the man, I don't know what you heard. But this ain't just by chance. Nah, I put in work. I'm about to have them rockin' rockets, get the merch. Y'all far from real, I'm talking self, I'm talking nerf. I seen a lot of y'all walk out, I seen them disperse. But I ain't trippin' for the money like it's rehearsed. Ooh, bustin' through your limitations, feel like the greatest. Every day a celebration, I'm elevated. Just came back from a hiatus, went back to basics. Watch the vibe go up every time you hit a base. Step up on the scene, looking extra clean. Oh yeah. Pull up in something you ain't never seen. Oh yeah. And it all started with $1 and a dream. Oh yeah. Then I woke up with a lot of cream. Better get your chick, she keep buying me. Wonder why they hate, wonder why they try me. I just levitate, try to reach a high me. Ain't got time to play, had to regulate. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. You can stop the guy, I will never cease. I'm a pure dog, take the pedigree. Oh, yeah. Try to steal the sauce, you want the recipe. But you can't repeat the serious destiny. Oh, yeah. You can stop the guy, I will never cease. I'm a pure dog, take the pedigree. Oh, yeah. Try to steal the sauce, you want the recipe. But you can't repeat the serious destiny. Oh, yeah. Thank God for the ambition. I roll like transmission. Stay cool like air conditioning. Got skills and division. You can't hold me up. Nigga like me, I'm mad different. Being broke, my phobia. That's why I chase the bag different. Way too smooth, never have limits. Life pushing, never had limits. Hustle hard, it's the last minute. Count me out, now I'm back in it. Never quit, that's just bad business. Tunnel vision, I'm so cash driven. Nigga, even with no gas in it, I'ma still push it till I'm past finish. Like, step up on the scene, looking extra clean. Oh, yeah. Pull up in something you ain't never seen. Oh, yeah. And it all started with $1 and a dream. Oh, yeah. Then I woke up with a lot of cream. Better get your chick, she keep buying me. Wonder why they hate, wonder why they try me. I just levitate, try to reach a high me. Ain't got time to play, had to regulate. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. I got $1 million dreams, $1 million dreams. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. I'm turning $1 million dreams into reality. Oh yeah, to reality. Oh yeah, to reality. Oh yeah, into reality. A wise man says, listen carefully. You can't see the forest because of the trees. Everything that glitters ain't always what it seems. Get your money, but never forget about eternity. That's reality.
All right, we are back. So, for those who may have just tuned in, so this is not Marcus. I'm Dr. Jan Jones, CEO of I Live Mighty, and I'm your special guest host interviewing the very special Marcus Stone, CEO of the Unapologetic Hustle. And just heard Million Dollar Dream by an artist, Levi Jones. I heard that podcast. A lot of people may not know that, you had that podcast. You interviewed him recently, very recently. So tell everyone, who is Levi Jones? Kind of, explain what his motivations are, because his music is is very purposeful. I think it's very motivating, and he goes in to make sure that folks can pull something from it. So I pulled a lot from that podcast. So give me, who's Levi Jones and how did that come about?
So Levi Jones, for those that don't know, I'm a little biased with it because Levi Jones is a relative of mine, actually. He's my cousin, but he has his own platform, Levitation, in which it stemmed from providing motivation, but he's gone through the similar journey of wanting to pursue something or starting down a path, and then finding out that path was not what he really wanted to do, and then turning in and finding something that he just absolutely loves and creating a platform from it. So, his launch season, in a sense, stemmed from a conversation that he and I had very briefly, but really just chasing and levitating the greatness is what he always says. His coin term is levitate the greatness, and he ain't worrying about the haters. Well, again, it's about loving what you do, and striving to be the best at it, but continue to levitate and elevate above everything that is pulling you down. So his music provides those nuggets because they're real, they're his story. And that's what he aims to do, is to tell his story regardless of how people receive it, because somebody's always listening, and it's out there for others to let them know that they can do it too.
I love that, bro. I love it, and I'm glad that you tapped in and mentioned that that's a relative, because I think that's very special in terms of speaking to the power of collaboration. A lot of times, people say, oh, don't get in business with family or friends, things like that. But the thing that I pulled from that interview is the understanding of collaboration. You're building each other up, right? And so, you have a talent, you have a platform that helps to promote someone else who has a similar mindset and platform in that space as well. And why I like that, because it resonates closely with my story too. I come from a pretty big family. We're all artistic and artsy, right? So right. I had it when I was living in Greenville, North Carolina. I have a cousin, Lester. He's Zion Promotions. He does poetry events, things like that. I had a camera. Hey, I'm your photographer, bro, and we collaborate, we build.
Absolutely.
I got a cousin, Tyler. He performs, he raps too. And you're gonna see some work from him in a couple of months too.
Absolutely.
Sure, man. So, when you're building that, how did that feel to even be able to interview another family member and be like, hey, we are on this platform, we are on a radio station, and you talked about, him telling his story, and you're telling your story, y'all making history together as a family. What did that feel like?
Man, it was amazing that if you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it for sure. But it was special, but it was a lot of excitement as well, because we've had several conversations about where we wanted to go, but at the same time we were doing it separately. I've always heard that there's strength in numbers. So the more that we pull together, the more that we can affect and enact change. So and that's what that talk was about. So we really just started connecting on a different level. We, it's not like we didn't talk, but our talks became more about what we were trying to do and how we were going to get there, and the assistance and support that we needed. And he and I just clicked. We just clicked on that level, and we've been there ever since. So we're riding it out. Again, our aim is to reach and teach. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to leave our legacy and leave those nuggets for others.
I love that, man. To see the power of collaboration, especially within friends and family. you're talking about leaving that legacy, like you said, generational wealth. And that wealth doesn't necessarily have to be money, though we like for it to include money too. But it could be, generational wealth in terms of how you communicate with one another, how you support one another, how you build together, how, and so you're continuing to create new narratives. I'm excited to see you grow and the things that you're doing, bro. And so there are little things that you might see. Oh, I do this all the time, and I'm like, people don't know how people see that's special. Like, you got to talk about it. So I'm glad to be able to put the spotlight on you, man. So before we went on break, I mentioned that we were going to look at kind of talking a little bit more about entrepreneurship, right? So you have multiple projects and businesses that you work on, right?
Absolutely.
What do you feel was the seed that planted that idea of I'm an entrepreneur? Like, I want to do this.
Man, so I have to take that back to my childhood, to be honest with you. It was just, I grew up in two areas, Texas and Louisiana. As you can see, I in my bio, I say that I'm Texas born, but Louisiana raised. And it is really just the culture of both, right? Anybody that knows that the Dallas-Fort Worth area is really a hustle and bustle city. But where I resided in Belrose, Louisiana, Assumption Parish, it's a lot slower. Not to knock the different hustles, but it's just a lot slower pace. So for me, even as a young child, I was always like, I can't stay here because it's too slow for me. But I can also, help others, with what they're trying to do. There's a lot of trucking, there's a lot of farming, there's a lot of stuff in Louisiana. But the one thing that really stuck with me was the culture, right? The family aspect, the festivals, the knowledge, the togetherness, and that is really what helped molded me to be who I am. And I tell everybody every day, I mean, if it wasn't for me growing up in that environment, I wouldn't have the hustle that I have now. It was because of those relationships that I built back then that were meaningful and pure, to help me grow to create the brands that I have created.
I love that, man. Especially, talking about how these things happened well in the past. That seed was planted probably when you were a kid. I resonate with that, man. My first business, I think the seed for me was, for one, my mother was an entrepreneur. She is an actress, and she has her own theater company. So I saw her put on plays and productions, and so I saw her being a one-woman show. And she was the one helping with the advertising. She was collecting the money. She was paying the staff. And I'm just like, if one person can do all of this, I got that itch too. I could do it,
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to church and I was like, I identified a need and a gap. Everybody gets out of church and we didn't have any like food areas around the church, right? Or anything just for, you had to walk to the store, but it was a little dangerous to walk that far away from church, especially as a kid. So I found this connect, get some crushed ice. I could get a cooler crushed ice. I went to Carry, got the snow cone flavors, and was able to build a little business right outside of the church parking lot. And, a percentage back to the church because that's what you're supposed to do, take care of people who take care of you. And so my tithes and offers went there, but it's identifying the need and then finding the community to support. Man, so then I started working with my cousin's hot dog stand, Lester. I was selling candy in school. They were like, what are you selling? Snickers,
Yeah, right. No, I mean, it did come early on, and there were a lot of influences with it. Just for some examples, like back in Louisiana, our hometown, I have two uncles that are well known for organ playing. They're musicians. Yeah. I mean, you can't go anywhere around there and they not know who they are. But at the same time, their father, my grandfather, rest his soul, Reverend Levi Jones, was a well-known pastor in the area. So, just the family aspect, in a sense, not to take away from the lane of being in the church and stuff like that. It was just the drive, right? Because musicianship, is a business in itself, right? But what they did was for the church, to look at my mother. My mother would make tea cakes and frozen cups and all these things that kids would want in the neighborhood. Just seeing people doing things out of really out of community, right? But able to generate income from it. It wasn't that they got rich from doing it, but it was a little extra. So a lot of those, just that environment in itself, it taught me how that if you enjoy doing something, you can monetize it at the same time, but ultimately you're doing something, you're giving back, and somebody's always giving back, whether it's, hey, have you eaten today? You could have ate 3 plates already, but you're going to come in this house and you're going to eat some more food, that type of deal. So um, family, the family aspect in the serving nature is really what set me on course for entrepreneurship, because I saw something different. It all started with, how am I going to give back? But then it quickly turned to, as I got older, okay, I enjoy doing this. This is what I want to do all the time. So now, how do I survive by doing this? And then I started finding ways to monetize and make money from the things that I enjoy doing, because that's what entrepreneurship is about. That's what the hustle is.
I'm so glad you talked about that, because you definitely provide the perfect segue, which was my next question was, how did you start monetizing the things that you were passionate about? What did that look? Was it, what were some of your approaches to, saying, like, even with, like, I know your hair care products, but also you're a chef. Like, one of the biggest issues one of the challenges that I had, and when I talk to, other entrepreneurs, it's setting a price for something that you're passionate about, where you'll do it
right.
Like, I need to make sure I'm balanced so that I can sustain and provide for my family. So how'd that feel when you started monetizing?
I mean, so initially it was tough. I was getting into an industry that I had really never been in, but I was good at, right? But ultimately, it really just came down to, you have to know your worth. Everybody won't be your client, and you have to understand that. So, I was sending out quotes and people like, oh no, this was too much, so on and so forth. And I was like, well, at least thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for giving me the consideration, to do your event, whatever the case may be. But the service that I was providing, I couldn't do for $100. I can't feed 1,500 people for $100. That's just not what it's about to be. So understanding that, you have to understand the level of service that you're providing, and you're going to have individuals that don't see that, and that's okay, but you will have a level of clientele that would understand your value, understand the level of service, and that will be your clientele that you will have, and by me doing that and having that mindset, during my time in Houston, I ended up becoming, a top 10 personal chef within the city of Houston, in basically a year's time. So, just you gotta set your point. You gotta continue to push and understand that that's what it is.
Okay, I love it, man. Now, I don't know if everybody's kind of feeling this, myself too. But when you said top 10 personal chef in Houston, I was like, man, he still lives in Dallas. So I'd be tired of cooking the same thing. Is that a service you're still providing right now in the current moment, or is this
so? At the current moment, Chef Anthony is only doing. I'm only about to launch my sauces. He is coming back. We have some big things that's coming, but right now we're gonna launch 2 sauces for ordering and stuff right now. But we're slowly bringing the catering and other services back.
All right, man. Look, it's starting to warm up. My grill is looking at me, so I need those sauces, bro. I need
yes, sir.
them. So I'm excited. I'm glad to hear that you're still doing that, man. So, question 2: what did it feel like when you saw that first check, or even just that first exchange, where the idea, you could see somebody paid you for your service? And for those who are thinking about it, might be curious, I think it's great to talk about it. What did that feel like when you're like, I got paid for this,
Right. So, again, it was something that I enjoyed doing. But when the check did come, or when it hit the account, it was like, for me, it was like, okay, that's full circle. It's a done deal. I started. I started. I went through the trials. I went through the obstacles, and now I got paid. You know what I mean? And not only did I get paid, they booked me again. So it lit another fire, it set another plateau. It's like, okay, well, I could do this one. Let's streamline it so I could get a couple more, and that's how it happened.
Yeah, and another thing too that I've seen you kind of navigate relationships. I went to Fishbowl Radio with you, and you were selling that naturally because you saw how good of a service it was for people who are entrepreneurs to start their podcast and things. But what I love most about how you operate is that you truly care, you truly value people, and so I think for you that service piece is what kind of makes you what distinguishes you so much from so many other people too, man. It's that genuineness there, man. I love that, bro. And so it speaks to your brand. The Unapologetic Hustle isn't just you. You encompass a whole brand. So absolutely, I'm really excited to see all the things that you're doing and will continue to do, bro. I know we're at that 12:55 point, so I want to leave some time where if as we transition to the outro, I want to check with you. Are there any things that you would like to share with everyone? How can people reach you? I heard that merch might be coming out soon. I can't wait to share. So, let your listeners know. If you want to leave them with something.
Hey, yeah, for real. So, again, thank you for your continued support. Thank you for coming on, being my host today. But again, you can reach me from any one of the platforms, whether it's Mashay'sLegacy.com. Legacy is spelled Legaci. You can follow me, The Unapologetic Hustle, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then you can also catch up with Chef Anthony on either one of those platforms. It all comes to me or my team. So, lastly, I'll just leave y'all with this. Yesterday is already gone, and you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So evaluate what you have right now, enact and change the mindset right now to start driving towards your purpose and live your best life. Activate your hustle today, so that you can go forward and achieve the dreams that you have set for yourself. Leave the legacy for those to come. But most of all, be a servant of some nature. So I love y'all. Tune in next week. We got a good special show again. But make sure that you support my good friend at Live Mighty, Jaron Jones. Go check out Levi Jones. But this has been the Unapologetic Hustle. Thank you for tuning in. Activate your hustle. We'll see you next Saturday.
All right, Fred.
Yes, sir. How you expect to be great, but your hustle don't match. Listen. I hustle overtime, attempt to push the culture forward. Just that real shit, make a meal with that little gift. Everybody on a hustle, we can make a real shift. So keep your head up, youngin', and just keep on moving. And if you ain't hustling, then I don't know what you're doing. The time is now. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Yeah, I gotta write my story. No, you can't have my glory. I'm taking all that's for me. Unapologetic.